Hi, I'm Paul H. Smith. For 7 years, I was a remote viewer and a remote viewing trainer in the military's Stargate remote viewing program, and I've been teaching remote viewing pretty much ever since. In this short video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to do a simple remote viewing session yourself. If you're not quite sure what remote viewing is, you may want to check out my video, Remote Viewing Martial Art for the Mind, first. Probably the best place to begin is to help you understand what remote viewing impressions are really like. They come in almost as if they're half-remembered memories. They have the same quality, the same feeling about them. They're vague, kind of fuzzy, but these are memories you know that you haven't had from before. These are new experiences that are coming in, new impressions that are coming in. You may get images, but these will be fuzzy and indistinct, rather vague. And sometimes you'll just get a sort of sudden knowing. You know something is here at the target, for example, but you won't know how you know that. Bright, vivid images are usually your conscious mind guessing, so don't trust those too much. When you're ready to get going, you'll need a black ink pen, a few sheets of paper, and a quiet place to work. And you'll need a target. But the remote viewer has to be blind to the target. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to wear a blindfold. What it means is that the remote viewer can't know what the target is or know anything about the target before or during the remote viewing session. They only get to find out what the target is afterwards. This is so you won't be accused of cheating, but it also avoids what we call mental noise, which is everything you know or might be able to guess about the target, if you know what it is, flooding into your mind and swamping all of the subtle signal, which is the actual information you want to get. What that means is you may need to involve a second person in the process so you as the viewer can stay blind to whatever the target is. For a beginning remote viewing, the target can just be a photo on a piece of paper or maybe an object that somebody puts in a box and tapes closed. Once the target has been sealed in the envelope or taped into the box, the person creating the target will want to label it in a way that won't give away anything about its contents, but will serve as a designator so the viewer's consciousness can identify where the target is. Writing target 1 or whatever target number you're on the box or envelope is sufficient. The envelope or the box can be in the same room with the viewer, or it can be in a different room, or it could be in another location different altogether. The label written on the target serves as a kind of address to draw the viewer's consciousness to it. To get the ball rolling, you just have to sit down at a table with a paper and pen. The first thing you'll want to do is write your name, the date, and if you feel like it, the time down in the upper right-hand corner of the page. If you have any distractions that might get in your way, such as maybe an appointment you have later that you have to remember, or maybe you're nervous about doing your first remote viewing session, you can just write those down, note them briefly in the upper left-hand corner of the page, or put them on a separate sheet of paper. Now, what do you need to know to be able to remote view? Let's talk it over. The first thing you need to remember, and it's the hardest thing to do, is to relax. Why do I say it's the hardest thing to do? Because whenever you try something new, there's a little bit of tension involved. There's a little bit of uncertainty. You don't know how you're going to do, and you worry about that. Don't worry about it. Just relax and let it happen. If you are concerned that you may not do well on it, nobody has to see your results. If you do well, then you'll have something to brag about. So remember, relax. The next thing to keep in mind is related to this idea of relaxing, and it is, don't worry about whether you succeed or fail. In our society, we are conditioned to worry about whether we're going to succeed at something or worry about whether we're going to fail at that same thing. In remote viewing, worrying about succeeding and failing, being overly concerned with that, is actually going to lead to you having a hard time. There's this, what I, for many years now, have referred to as the Zen-like element in remote viewing. In Zen, the idea is that you concern yourself with the process, not with the outcome. And that's how you want to approach remote viewing, where you are kind of an interested observer of what's happening as you're going through this process. And you'll see what the outcome is when it happens, and then you'll evaluate it at that point. You don't worry about it as you're going through. If you can let go of that need to succeed or let go of that fear of failure, you'll find yourself succeeding far more often. The final step in preparation is essentially to clear your mind. Now I say clear, and I put it in quotes here, because no one can actually totally clear their mind of thoughts or impressions or whatever may come in. What you're doing, you're not exactly clearing your mind. What you're doing is allowing whatever comes in to flow back out again. You're trying to avoid holding on to these thoughts and stressing about them. So as a thought comes in, you let it flow out. If it's a thought that may have to do with the target, then you allow that to flow in and you put it on the paper. Either write it down or sketch it if it's something you sketch. If it's something that doesn't have anything to do with the target, you let it go entirely. That's all there is to clearing your mind. When you start the actual remote viewing process, all you do is record impressions that you get. And simple, basic impressions are what you want to go for first. Things like colors, textures, qualities of light. Is it shiny or is it dull? Is it red or is it brown? Or is it a combination of all these things? If the target isn't a photo, if it's something else like an object, you may get taste, smells, even maybe sounds if it's something that could make a sound. You track these simple impressions. As you get into the session, you'll start perceiving shapes. You'll start maybe getting lines and directions. Capture all that on paper. But focus on the simple stuff. Don't try and figure out what this target is right off the bat, because your left brain, your conscious mind, will step in and give you suggestions that are usually wrong. An important rule in this process is that surprises often turn out to be right. And what do I mean by surprise? I mean something pops into your head that you weren't thinking about, that isn't connected to anything you're thinking about. It just suddenly materializes in your mind. There's a very high likelihood that whatever that is that your impression is true about the target. So make sure you record anything that surprises you, an impression that you weren't expecting that comes into your mind. One very important element is sketching. Sketching is a way we have of getting out internal impressions that we can't express in words. And so some people tend to default to writing words down all the time. Remember to sketch the impressions that come into your mind, because you can get things down on paper using a sketch, drawing a picture, so to speak, that you can't express verbally. Sketches are very important, have been shown to be a very important intrinsic aspect of the remote viewing process. Finally, remember to keep drawing your attention back to the target. Human perception is designed for our attention to wander. And you'll find yourself drifting off of the target and start thinking about other things. You'll have to periodically remind yourself to go back and address the target, go back and think about the target, go back and try and perceive the target. And that will help you stay on course in the process of remote viewing. When you're finally ready to start, you simply write target 1, or whatever the target number is, on the left side of the sheet, and you begin. If impressions come to you immediately, write or sketch them immediately. Waiting to think them over first can lead to your conscious mind inventing things or making you doubt. Sometimes it may take a few moments for you to begin to recognize the vague impressions forming in your mind. Relax and let it happen. But make sure you write or sketch everything as it emerges into your thoughts. You may at first just perceive colors or shapes, and if the target is a physical object, as I said, you might even get things like textures or smells or tastes, or maybe even sounds. But as you go on, shapes and lines will start to emerge. It's very important to sketch those on your paper and capture them. For your first remote viewing effort, maybe 5 minutes would be enough. But if you still seem to be doing well, don't stop right there. Go ahead and keep working until you feel like you're done. When you're finished, simply write "end" and the time at the bottom of your final page. Now you can check out your feedback. Open the envelope or the box, see what the target is. Compare what you got to what it is you were supposed to be remote viewing. That's all there is to it. Who knows, you may have so much fun that you'll want to go on and explore remote viewing in depth. If you want more information on how to do this and other simple remote viewing experiments, or get guidance on how to find professional training, you may want to get my book, The Essential Guide to Remote Viewing, or you can access my website at rviewer.com. Thanks for watching.